much better. Let us look at the second example, a third example, the collaboration network. Uh, this is a network of countries in Africa which collaborate in research with each other. If you see this, you see a sort of a structure uh, of a different sort that is apparent by the way the social network has been portrayed in this graph. On the one hand, you have a whole bunch of countries which seem to interact with a lot with each other, and there is another set of countries which also interact with each other, but these two sets of countries don't have many interactions with the countries in the other cluster. So these are two different clusters of countries, and a country, Sudan, seems to be in a cluster by itself. Let us look at the next. The three examples that are sort of reported in the literature of social networks. The first is the emergence of conventions in the Twitter social network. This is a figure of the diffusion network of the first 500 adopters of retweeting. Now, there are 6 or 7 different conventions that evolved in the early days of the Twitter network. If you look at the source that I've given, this particular report, you will get information on what those 6 or 7 different kinds of retweeting as they evolved on the Twitter network are. Now, if you look at this particular network, the actors, that is, the first 500 adopters of retweeting, are represented by little points. Since there are 500 points here, it is very difficult, it's almost impossible to label them in a graph that you can put on a screen. You also have a whole lot of relations. If you expand this graph, you will notice that there are different kinds of lines. There are some lines which are dotted, some which are dashed, some which are in different colors. These are all the different types of retweeting. In other words, the lines or relations that connect the actors in this particular network have attributes or characteristics. In this case, the attribute of a particular line or relation is the way of retweeting. Let us look at the second example in the literature, which is the Bible social network. Now, each node here is a character that appears in the Bible. If you note, there are some nodes or people who are represented by dots or very small ovals, and there are some which are represented by larger ovals. For example, at the center of the network is Jesus, who is represented by the largest oval. Now, the size or the size of the ovals represents the number of lines that are incident to that particular oval. Since Jesus has connection with just about everybody who is mentioned in the Bible, Jesus has a large oval, whereas if you look at the apostles, like Peter, John, and so on, they're smaller ovals. Nevertheless, they're in the vicinity of Jesus. On the other hand, you find the small points which are on the periphery of the network. They are the nodes that have very few degrees. Remember that any software that you use, the network is not presented directly in this fashion. You will have to tweak the screen and the nodes so that this structure becomes apparent. Let us look at the next example